Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pearce. This is Ukraine War News Update, third part there of goodness me for the 24th of September 2024. Quite a bit going on with regard to the UN summit in the US and meeting between peoples. We have a 209.5 million euro Netherlands aid package, Dutch aid package given or pledged for the restoration of critical infrastructure and humanitarian assistance. 45 million will be allocated to the Ukraine Energy Support Fund, as well as for financing the delivery of equipment, said the country's foreign minister. So good news there. They have also declared that they've confirmed the Patriot radar delivery. They were going to try and get together a whole Patriot battery. In the end, no one else sort of provided anything, so they provided at least a radar to Ukraine, and that will, I presume, be a bolt-on to existing capabilities that they have. Good stuff there from the Dutch. Now, before we get on to a US aid package that is coming, let's talk about, well, the Washington Post has first reported that apparently Ukraine has not yet sufficiently convinced Washington of the need to use ATACMS and other long-range missiles inside Russia. I'm sure this will be part of their victory plan. This is incredibly depressing that the US is still, it appears, not willing enough to lift restrictions. An incredible frustration there for the Ukrainians. Indeed, I think Joe Biden has just spoken at the UN as at the time of me recording. Ukrainian channels, says Jay in Kyiv, watching Biden's big talk on the UN about historical inflection points and supporting Ukraine, while the US forbids Ukrainians from striking Russian territory. Quote, Iran and North Korea are better at giving permissions. Ouch. But that's how they see it, and rightly so. So, this election can't come soon enough, because I hope that Harris wins and that allows for a more robust support of Ukraine, which I think it will, judging by the rumours I'm hearing. Certainly better than the alternative of the Trumpian administration. But Joe Biden does seem to be afraid to do the right thing, and it is incredibly annoying. In his speech, there's no report at the UN General Assembly. US President Joe Biden affirmed that American support for Ukraine will continue until the country achieves a just and lasting peace. He highlighted that Putin's war has failed in its primary objective to destroy Ukraine, as the nation remains free. Additionally, he noted that rather than weakening NATO, the alliance is now larger, stronger, and more united than ever, which is, okay, that's fair enough. Don't disagree with any of that, and good that you're going to support Ukraine until a just and lasting peace. Lift restrictions. That's all we want to hear. John Ridge has an interesting point to make here, and bearing in mind there's the idea of lifting restrictions, but there's also the real worry that there's only something like 6 days left now for the US to apportion the Presidential Drawdown Authority money that they have left. That's $6 billion. Now, I don't know if you could put a schedule in place for $500 million a month for the next 12 months. That would be cool. I don't know if they have the ability to do that, whether they could do that without detailing exactly what might be in it. Just say, we're going to give $500 million for the next 12 months. There you go. Some people have been talking about that. I think John Ridge has mentioned it, actually. Here, John Ridge says, I don't think people understand what the central failures of US security assistance to Ukraine are. There are three, and they are different. The original sin was the administration requesting insufficient appropriations or authorities for the first four Ukraine Supplemental Appropriations Acts prior to the midterms. This is back before the midterms in 2022. So at the beginning of the war. These appropriations or authorities were also largely requested for 1 or 2 financial years rather than 4 financial years. So much more short-termist. I guess people didn't really realise how long the war was going to go on for. Right. Then he says the second and ongoing sin is the administration poorly managing the available resources. Decisions to delay transferring or contracting critical, often long lead time defence articles have created significant and lasting consequences. So not ordering stuff soon enough, not getting off your asses and getting Patriots by the dozen to Ukraine, as well as imposing destructive political limitations on Ukraine's war effort. Even when they have course corrected, the options available to them are massively constrained as a result of how insufficient appropriations and authorities are. Okay, so that's the second problem. He said the third and gravest sin, so the biggest issue with US appropriations, is congressional House Republicans obstructing the passage of additional assistance. This is the deadliest threat to Ukraine's war effort. Even if the administration or a future Harris administration fully corrects these mistakes, it will be impossible to recover without a vast infusion of additional appropriation and authorities from Congress. So I think this is talking to the idea that the 7 months issue was a problem, like a huge problem. It caused directly, I think, or it depends how you interpret causality, the deaths of many a Ukrainian. It was a proper problem, and you can lay that at the feet of the House Republicans. But also, because of the worry of them doing similar again, like these other two issues wouldn't be such a problem if you could just course correct it quite quickly, right? Say, right, okay, we need more appropriations, or we need more USA or whatever, let's pass that through Congress. But it's a worry that actually things can't get passed through Congress, because even though the Senate is on board, these House Republicans are beholden to Trump, and that is a bit of an issue. So he says that's a gravest sin, but the others are ongoing problems that need to be rectified. Okay, the US will announce a military aid package, so in that context, for Ukraine tomorrow. This is reported by Voice of America. According to the publication sources, the total cost of weapons will be up to $375 million, so a bit of an uptick from previous packages. Good news there. The package will include, although I would say, what about $1 billion package? Bish, bash, bosh. The package will include missiles for F-16s to hit ground targets. Such missiles will allow Ukrainian F-16s to operate far from the front line and destroy enemy air defense systems. Far from the front line and those systems. In addition, the package will include missiles for HIMARS, patrol boats and armoured vehicles, as well as 155mm projectiles, 105mm projectiles and TOW missiles. So the usual stuff there, but also with vehicles too. Okay, Colby Badawar says the US believes Ukraine will need at least $500 million worth of PDA per month through financial year 2025, according to a senior administration official. This is half of what they need just for defensive operations, and clearly the Biden administration won't even give them that much. They are doing the cupboard is bare routine, claiming the stocks are empty and they can't send Ukraine much of anything, which is beyond absurd. I mean, goodness me, you could send them an absolute ton of Abrams and Bradleys, and that's for sure. But so US believes that they need $500 million a month. Well, actually, they've got $6 billion now, so that's exactly that for a year in what they already have. So as far as the authorization is concerned, right, 41% of the shells used by the Ukrainian military are produced in Ukraine, says Defense Minister Umerov. Wow, I can't believe that's true, but that's the claim. 41% of the shells used are of Ukrainian origin. That's incredible, and is testament to how much they have ramped up production. He also noted that over the past year, mobilization rates have tripled and opportunities for training our military have increased fivefold. The next step is a reform of the TCC, which has already been worked on. I talked about that yesterday. So that's kind of the app and the procedures for it's Army Plus, and what's the other one? Something else plus. Anyway. Ukraine's Robert Magyar Brovdy, so he is Magyar's birds guy, the drone guru, has been talking with The Economist, and during the next 6 to 8 months, and this is what I referenced earlier today, humans will no longer be needed to control drones in Ukraine. The war will become truly unmanned. The evolution of such technologies will lead to the fact that artificial intelligence will be the main tool of warfare, since already 50% of all strike activity is formed by drones. Hundreds of AI systems are currently being developed at the same time, and they are being tested in experimental modes. Wow. In 6 months, he says, pilots will no longer be needed. The drone itself, depending on its development, will decide what to attack, how to distinguish Ziguli from a tank, and definitely not confuse a Ukrainian with an enemy. Wow. Magyar noted that tomorrow, experienced fighters can go to different countries of the world to train the NATO army in the latest war tactics. Quote, this will be an element of our practical gratitude for your help in our struggle for our freedom, for our land, for our families. And I've said this, many people have said this, that the trainees will become the trainers. These guys have got much more experience of war than any NATO military personnel have. So, yeah, now I am the master situation. Russia's endless waves of impoverished meat pouring into Ukraine will soon be matched by unmanned armoured robot tech from a civilised and free people. More every day. That's Jay in Kiev saying that, and I only said that because yeah, of course that was going to happen. Of course there was going to be loud music in my ear, you stupid boy. And yes, I know how to mute the tabs. Don't tell me how to mute, and I can mute everything in different programs, and I know how to do this. I could easily not have this issue. I just love getting angry, and this is my fight with technology. And I thought I'd been winning. Last 6 months, I've been doing well. And the last couple of days, just had a couple of gut punches. Anyway, I said that from Jay in Kiev because what he's talking about is what Robert Magyar was talking about, which is, soon enough these... And you can argue this is going to be the case for both sides, right? But soon enough, these are going to be driving around and flying around and doing the job of warfare in place of humans. Interesting. What I thought was interesting from watching this, where is it? I quite liked this. As this drone was driving off, where is it? At some point in the video, here, they've got these vehicles covered up. I like that. This is a training zone, probably... hopefully some way back from the front line, right? Maybe Western Ukraine. And they are looking after their SUVs there, parking them under trees and putting them under camouflage. It's exactly what you want to see. Anywho, we move on. Josep Borrell from the EU has urged increased aid to protect Ukraine's energy infrastructure. We've seen that from was it the Norwegians yesterday, the Dutch today? EU Foreign Policy Chief urges Western allies to provide air defences and energy support for Ukraine ahead of winter amid Russian targeting of its energy system. Absolutely 100%. And also we have Norway, again, allocating $9.5 million for the evacuation of wounded personnel from Ukraine to Europe. In a move to address the still high demand, Norway will spend $9.5 million to extend its programme, transporting severely injured Ukrainians to European medical facilities. Good stuff there, good support from Europe. Around 60% of foreign parts, this is a massive worry. Actually, this is being reported quite a bit at the moment, and I think the Ukrainians are rightfully annoyed about this. Because China is creeping in its support, creeping to increased support for Russia in terms of actual fully made equipment. We saw yesterday a couple of pieces of some armoured vehicles that appeared to be Chinese. And obviously the Golf buggies and Desert Cross 1000-3s and all that kind of stuff. But also drones, foreign parts, etc., etc. China is definitely becoming bolder with the way that they support Russia. Around 60% of foreign parts and Russian weapons come via China. Ukraine says most of the foreign parts found in Russian weapons used on the battlefield against Ukraine come from China, according to Vladyuk, the advisor to Ukraine's presidential office. Okay, it is a real challenge that China will be a problem that Ukrainians, that the West will have to deal with in terms of the war in Ukraine. And Bloomberg is reporting, I actually reported this yesterday, but there was one figure here that I didn't have, which is this 27% increase. I talked about the amount that Russia is going to be spending, which is a phenomenal amount of spondulies. Like, what was it, $142 billion on their defense. So Bloomberg reports Russia is to boost military spending by 27%. What I didn't report is that how much it went up by. 27% increase is phenomenal. Goodness me. Like, we whinge about like a 2% increase or something in defense spending or any kind of spending. This is a 27. This is their already massive defense spending going up by almost a third. Russia's 2025 draft budget reveals a continued shift towards a war economy, with defense spending set to reach 6.2% of their GDP, as I mentioned yesterday. Anyway, hopefully that's of use to you. A slightly shorter one today. Thank you for listening, watching. Thank you for supporting. Huge appreciation to Grimsoft over at the Discord place that I don't visit enough. Thank you, and thanks for hanging out there, guys, as well. I appreciate you, Grimsoft. I don't say it enough. You are one of the legends of the multiverse. So thank you. Take care, guys. Toodle pits.